Hi, my name is Hans-Peter-Meyer, and I'm talking with Paul Krismer this morning here at the Chamber of Commerce in Courtenay. Paul, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? How long have you been in the Valley?
My wife and family moved here just a little over 8 years ago, and like many other people, we came here with a real purpose. We looked around at communities to potentially settle in, and we chose the Comox Valley in a very deliberate way because of all its wonderful, rich amenities. And so the topics that we're going to discuss today are real important to me.
How long have you been involved with the Chamber?
This is the 4th year that I've been involved with the Chamber.
Right, and what's your position here?
I chair the Advocacy Committee of the Chamber, which is more or less the part of the Chamber that deals with government policy and public initiatives. The Chamber of Commerce sees itself as the voice of business, and this Advocacy Committee is generally that part of us that is the voice.
Okay, so thank you for participating in what we're calling a 3x2x8 conversation about sustainability in the Comox Valley. The format is that we're asking people 3 questions, the same 3 questions. But that's just a jumping off point. We're hoping that you watching this will actually take those 3 questions and ask people in your family, amongst your friends, maybe make your own videos and post that stuff. Paul, so the first question is, well, first, you've had a look at the draft goals and objectives for the Comox Valley Sustainability Strategy?
I have.
Yeah. What excites you about that strategy?
I think the most exciting part, Hans, genuinely, is simply the conversation. When we begin to discuss amongst ourselves, whether it's discussions with local government, business, environmental organizations, or frankly just the citizenry at large, that in and of itself is a very good thing. A structured conversation about goals that we all know and recognize are important is exactly what we should be doing. Some of our short-term and medium-term action plans are probably doable. Some of the longer-term ones may or may not be, and I don't think that's so important. I think the important part is that we've begun a conversation that's directionally correct. Circumstances are going to change in the next 5 to 10 years such that some of the things we're planning for won't come to pass. But if we've kind of in an organic way begun a process where different people are talking with the same vision in mind, then we will get there one way or another, but the conversation is the important thing.
Okay. The second question is, what do you see are the challenges in implementing the sustainability strategy here?
The easy answer would be to talk about the typical things that government policy is restrained by. Insufficient dedicated resources, potentially the lack of commitment or leadership. Those would be the easy, typical shortcomings. But I think the biggest challenge for us right now is a unifying vision. Something that brings the whole of the valley together, where we can all in common say this is where we're headed for. Another way to describe that might be a statement of shared values, where there's an agreement amongst us as citizens. What is it that we're trying to achieve? And until we are really clear on what that vision is, the differences amongst us might be more apparent than what brings us together. But with a good vision, we'll all move along in a way that is productive and effective. And it comes about in a way that is relatively simple and easy if the vision is in fact agreed upon. And I don't think we're quite there yet, but that's where we need to get to.
Right, and there's the history of those kind of challenges here. And the third question is, how do you see yourself or the Chamber working with other community organizations, local governments, other businesses to create an on-the-ground sustainability in the Comox Valley?
The Chamber's been very active, particularly in the last year, on environmental and sustainability themes. Just for example, the whole initiative to eliminate single-use plastic bags in the valley was a Chamber initiative started earlier this year. And it needs its next step. It needs government action to bring about an elimination throughout the valley. But our role is, in that same vein, to be working with the Comox First Nations, Comox Valley Land Trust, other environmental organizations, and local government to build some consensus about how we're getting to the places we want to get to. And we are, I think, a very progressive business organization. We're loud and proud about our environmental priorities. And
well, yeah, well, on that note,
yeah.
I mean, like, you've done some really interesting stuff with the land trust, for example. Can you just talk a bit about that? And I mean, to me, that looks like the kind of thing that we all need to be doing.
Yeah. Well, the Comox Valley Land Trust has a very clear articulation of where the environmental lands are that we need to specifically designate some kind of protective mechanisms for. And the Chamber, in our 2 written submissions regarding both the regional growth strategy and the sustainability strategy, both of which are available on our website, has essentially partnered and come to agreement with Comox Valley Land Trust about how to move forward. And if I could, Hans, for just a second, I'll try to articulate those 3 things that we've agreed upon. The first is that it's environment first, that we be very clear about which lands it is that we want to protect, and that includes ecologically sensitive lands, but it would also include green spaces that have aesthetic or recreational values, and those are our first priorities. Let's get that first and foremost dealt with. The second part of our shared vision is that we have land use that is very progressive, that it's green, it's adaptive to what societal changing demands are, and also adaptive to whatever technological change comes along. So that if we have future land use planning, or have land use planning, it should be nimble and adaptive to take advantage of both technology and societal demands at the time that the developer is coming forward. And with that, in preserving the environment, we can also build a robust economy. And the third part of our vision that we're in agreement on is all about our regional planning function. We believe that a singular regional planning department should exist rather than the 4 municipal departments that exist right now. And it's no criticism of those existing departments, but they tend, for logical reasons, to look at their own interests within each of their own jurisdictions. And if we want to create a valley-wide vision, then we need a robust, very professional, very modernized planning department that can have a valley-wide consideration as they do their work.
Right. Well, thank you very much for answering those 3 questions. We've got a couple minutes. If you want to put some... This is about a conversation.
Yeah.
So, you know, you played along with me with the 3x2x8 format. Now, you want to put something else on the table here? And I'm particularly interested in, like, it's interesting that the Chamber is taking such a, what might seem to be a very green or environmental kind of position. Maybe you can comment on that. Like, why does that make business sense?
Great question, Hans. Excellent. 2 years ago, when the regional growth strategy was first mandated for our community, the Chamber board sat down and said, should we play a role in it? And we determined that yes, it's about as important public policy as we could envision. We needed to be there. And so what would our role be? And we very quickly came to a consensus that it's about branding the valley. That even though that's a crass commercial term, it has a real meaning for all people. That if we brand the valley around our environmental priorities, then that's how we sell this community to potential investors. That if you want to come and do business here, be green, be progressive, be innovative, and we'll welcome you with open arms. And we think that's a marketing strategy that not only is exciting and consistent with some of our inherent and natural attributes that we already have, but it's something that we could all be very proud of, that 20 and 30 years from now, people will say we've built a very green economy that preserves the things that we value here in the community.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thanks a lot. And for any of you who have, issues with this, please comment on the YouTube or Facebook places to make comments. Again, make your own videos. The 3 questions. What are you excited about with the Comox Valley Sustainability Strategy? What do you see as the challenges of implementing it? And how are you or your organization going to work with others to make sustainability a reality here? Thanks. Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome.